Get to know Dr. Pia Washington. She's an author, financial consultant, and realtor. She's also the founder of the Property PhD, LLC. Get to know Ryan Akers. He's an entrepreneur, a financial and business consultant, and author of Getting Things Done. Today, we discuss a special topic, love and finances.
Love and finances and everything that comes with that. So we got a juicy discussion today, something a little different on the Shundir show that we're going to do today. So let's dive on in. We'll start with you, Ryan. Tell me about yourself and how your business serves in the marketplace.
All right, great question. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Ryan Akers. I am an entrepreneur, author, father, all-around good guy, right? I do a few different businesses with a aim in the financial services field. So most commonly known as life insurance, annuities, 401ks, rollovers, things of that nature. And then I've been able to kind of branch out and successfully cross paths and run a successful trucking business now. So we're about a little under 2 years in. And even in the pandemic, we've been able to grow exponentially with our trucking business. So I think when we started, we had 1.5 trucks, and we are now at 15 and growing. So we've been blessed to kind of have our foot in the right place in the market at the right time, even though a lot of other people wouldn't agree with that based statistically. But in the trucking business, in the trucking world, it was a great opportunity early, and like I said, it ended up being a great blessing for me and the company to have our position where we were and where we are now.
And Pia, please tell me about yourself and how your business serves in the marketplace.
Sure. I am a mother of 4, grandmother of 1, and I am married to my junior high school sweetheart. We have been together for 37 years and married for 27 years. Also an entrepreneur and an author. I started my career in finance, and so I did a lot of corporate finance in my career for major Fortune 500 companies. And then in the last 6 or 7 years, kind of went out on my own. So I have a company called the Property PhD, which does financial and real estate consulting. And I also recently launched my nonprofit, which is actually PhD Inc., but it stands for Path to Home Ownership Dreams, and we support and provide services in transitional housing for women and children in crisis.
Fantastic. Kudos to the both of you for everything that you're doing to serve not only the community, but also serve as entrepreneurs as well. Okay, so today we're discussing love and finances as a way to help couples navigate through the difficult subject of money matters. When is a good time for couples to start discussing finances? In your opinion, first date, engagement party, never? When do you start?
From jump.
Come on. You say from jump?
What's your name? What's your FICO? No, I'm just kidding.
What's your name? That should be on a shirt. What's your name? What's your FICO?
What's your sign? What's your FICO score?
Right.
Literally. I would have to agree that it needs to start early, so that you can kind of make your decision. Because I think a lot of times, what we say is when you meet somebody first, you meet their representative. You're meeting their best person first. And when you start asking questions, it allows you to kind of peel back the fog, so to speak, right? So I think asking those questions, which should be kind of fairly easy, just in general. Even though a lot of people probably don't have the credit score that they want and or desire or need, but so you might be making them feel a certain type of way. But listen, if this is a person that you're talking about spending any significant amount of time with, you want to know who you're going to spend that time with, right?
I agree. Absolutely.
And I think from a practical standpoint, it's, I'm jokingly talk about the FICO, but also it's more important too to find out like what their thoughts about money are. Like, you can ask questions early on about financial goals or, which is going to be critical to any relationship, right? Like, A lot of people will talk about whether or not they want to have children, where they want to live, but they don't talk about, retirement age or planning for things like that. And they're not necessarily, they don't have to be difficult conversations, right? They can be a part of your dating process, right? Where you're getting to know that person. You're genuinely interested in how this person thinks about money and finances, because oftentimes it's something that's rooted in us from childhood, right? And how we were raised. I mean, there's a lot that goes into how we think and feel about money. And so I think having those conversations is very productive and should not be scary or taboo.
I'll add this really quickly. Just today, we're doing a training with some guys out here, and the number one reason for divorce is finance. So if you can have that conversation, like she said, early, and kind of get the feelers out there to understand what this person's knowledge base is on money and or their thought process, like the doctor was saying. I mean, you could alleviate a couple of headaches, and you might even be able to find the right person earlier. I don't know.
I think that you all are giving some great insight and a lot to think about, because money matters. It's such an uncomfortable subject for a lot of people, and then you're integrating that into a relationship. It's one of those things that you kind of avoid. I don't know, almost like sexual history. It feels like sometimes, like I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to just move forward from this day forward. So that's really funny. So it's time for the holidays, right? Gift giving and frivolous spending habits are commonplace in relationships and can often lead to fresh debt going into the new year. How can you both encourage couples to be thoughtful without breaking the bank? Because we'll get mad if you didn't give me that gift. So how do you develop that empathy, that understanding? Let's put money where it's useful. Let's not be wasteful. Let's not be frivolous. Any ideas on that?
Ladies first.
Sure, I'll go first. Thank you. I happen to be a very secure saver. It's a Money Styles. One of the books I co-wrote with Dr. Cosette White, who's also a friend of the show, was Love, Money, and Power. And my chapter was about like different spending styles, right? And I am different from most women, I think, because my husband's the gift giver and I am the secure saver, and I would rather he not buy me expensive gifts. I would rather spend quality time or have experience. Now, having said that, I recognize that everybody doesn't feel the same way, and a lot of women, we like our handbags. There was a whole blog, social media thing about Birkins in social media recently. If he came back to Birkin, and I'm like, girl, I digress. But I think that no matter what your personality is, I think that you have to be willing to have a conversation with your partner about your budget and about what your capabilities are as a couple, right? And so I think it's very naive for a woman to go into a relationship, let's just say, you're not married and you're dating or you're engaged. And, you don't have those conversations about finances, but then the expectation when Valentine's and the holidays and the birthdays come around is that you're gifted with these luxurious and lavish gifts. So again, taking us back to point one, if we've kind of had those discussions and say, you know what, we're going to set a budget. It was hard to get my husband. I mean, he was the big, I'm going to buy you a car, I'm going to fly you to Europe and you don't know kind of gift giver. Like he was grand gesture guy, right? And I was like, okay, as long as we can afford it, I'm okay with that, but you need to be within a budget. And also you need to have a conversation that it's not always about the thing or the dollar amount. Sometimes it's an experience. And one time I gave him, he said was one of his favorite gifts was a coupon book. Right? So it's like active service coupon book. It didn't cost a lot of money to put it together, but you I see as you want to. But you turn this coupon whenever you want. And it was so it was just thoughtful. And it was like 30 days of different things that he could, receive as an act of service from me. So.
Oh, that was a good gift, but that was his favorite.
Yeah. Listen, I'm like, okay, that's a great gift. Matter of fact, I hope a lot of the women are listening out there right now. So let me first say this, because I heard the doctor mention a couple of points, and I think that if you're in a relationship, one of the things that you should know is your spouse's love language, right? Because that's important. If you think that because you are a giver, because I am also, right? I think a lot of men are. We're natural givers. We like to fix problems or whatever. So we feel like, let me go do this, and she's gonna love it. And the whole time she's over here like, why didn't he just buy me a flower? Or why did something that we're not even thinking about. We're like trying to go diamonds and gold, and she's like, just take me to dinner. Just tell me you love me. So knowing your spouse's love language, I think helps a ton. That comes with communication. The other thing that happens is also being responsible. Being able to communicate, you'll know that, hey, I might have a bad financial year in business, or maybe my job just laid me off, or whatever the case may be. I feel like sometimes there's added pressure, even for men, because I'm a man, obviously, so I'm speaking from this perspective. I think for men, there's an added pressure to overachieve, unrealistic expectations even at times. And I think if you have a great communication level set with your spouse, it makes it easier, makes it more comfortable. The man feels a little bit more at ease, and then it's, you can have that conversation like, look, baby, I would like to do X, Y, and Z, but this is where my budget and parameter is. And you have to have the spouse comfortable enough to be able to say, okay, this is cool, blase, blase, blah. So I once was the guy, much like her husband, that was just like, we're just gonna do this. Oh, lavish, lavish, lavish. And it got me nowhere, right? So I believe now, as I'm maturing more in the actual experience of things. So anything that I try to do, if it's a gift even, I wanted to make it an experience in me giving that gift, because I'm a person that likes to have the remnants in the back of her mind. I want her to remember that I did this a certain type of way.
I love both are about creating memories.
I was going to say that too. I think if we can get out of the mindset too, because I think it's not just with our spouses. I know we're talking about relationships and money, but with our children, if we have them, and getting out of the habit of feeling like Christmas or the holiday season is all about spending. Yeah. When really, 2020, if nothing else, it's about cherishing your loved ones and spending quality time creating memories is what I was going to say. And I think that, that goes a long way as well. It doesn't always have to be about the frivolous spending just for spending's sake, and I know that's sometimes a hard message to extend, whether you're the person who likes to spend the money or you're the person that likes to receive the gifts, but talking about, again, your goals and what's important. And if we're saving up, say you're saving up to buy a house, right? How is that more important than going out and buying a bunch of stuff for Christmas when you have a goal to buy a house next year? Reestablishing that, what's important to us in our financial future is, I think, critical.
Okay, so you meet someone special. Maybe you marry someone special. I don't know. You save and they don't, or vice versa. They have excellent credit and yours needs some TLC. If that's a concern, how do you rectify the situation, or do you just throw the whole relationship away?
Okay, I have a very strong.
He is ready. Okay, come on.
I have a strong opinion on this. I don't think you throw the relationship away, because just like everything else, opposites attract a lot of times. So it is going to be very, very rare that you have a male and a female, partner that's going to be the same as you. And, right. Ryan, you mentioned the love languages. And again, I took a beat from Dr. Chapman with the love languages when I came up with the spending styles or money personalities. So there's secure savers, there's spontaneous spenders, there's generous givers, and there's people who status seekers. So the Birkins, they want the labels and that, and that makes them feel good, right? It makes them feel good, and it makes them feel good to give those types of things to others. So one of the things that I think is important is to not throw the relationship away, but to talk about it and to figure out where there's common ground. Because just like I'm not going to throw my relationship away because my husband and I have different love languages, or he's a people person and I'm not, like that, we balance each other out, and that goes into spending too. Like he loves to, because he's generous, the bill. So when we were going to restaurants, he always picked the bill. I don't care how many people it was. I don't care.
Wow.
He's that guy. So yeah, he's that guy. And I, being the secure saver, I'll be like, oh my God.
I'm like, don't do it. We'll split it.
But you know what? It's adapting. And what I learned to do is I set aside budget for when we go out. I'm already pre-programming myself to know this is going to be the budget, versus if it was just us going out and we were paying for our own check. I've already programmed myself to know we're going out with a group of friends and we're going to sushi.
Right.
This is what it is. He's going to pick up the bill. It's going to be expensive. And if I've done that, then I'm not upset. You know what I mean? And we can work together, and we've learned to balance each other out. He knows that there's a number that I'm not comfortable if he spends without telling me. Right? Because we share everything. I'm very adamant about not splitting up the finances. So I don't know how you feel about that, Ryan, but all of our stuff is joint. Yeah, all of our stuff is joint. So, but I feel like there's like under $400, whatever you're comfortable with in your family. But for us, it's like, okay, if you're going to spend under a certain amount, you don't need to talk to me about everything. But because I'm the planner and the saver, if it's going to be over a certain dollar amount, that's a conversation. It all comes back to communication and working together. So it's like we have a conversation, and it's like, okay, then we're going to plan for that. That's a plannable item. That's a budgetable item that we're going to set a goal for.
I thought that was an excellent answer, Dr. Washington. What I would say also to that tune is credit is it's important to remember. I mean, I didn't start off having excellent credit. I might have thought I did, but I ruined it. I remember going to the military and they approved me for everything anytime I went to the mall, and I literally swiped, right? Because my parents were workers, but they never taught me about credit. They taught me to work hard. So I learned that, head on, and I can't expect anybody else that I meet, because I don't know what their background is if I'm just meeting them, right? I don't know their family history, their dynamics. So I can't say, I want her, she got to have an 800 credit score. No. It took me years to just get 750. Okay, I'm comfortable, but listen, it takes work, and even to be there and understand how credit works. That when you spend it, your credit score is gonna go down because your utilization will go up. So it depends on what you're doing, how you're doing it. So there's a strategy behind everything, but the basis of it, and I'll come back to Dr. Washington mentioned again, is communication. I'm not gonna throw it away based off of credit solely. However, if there are some other traits that continue to manifest itself, it would seem like maybe you have other issues going on besides that I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with. But just purely based off of credit, no. As a matter of fact, like I just said, men, we're normal fixers. We like to try to correct things. So I'm gonna try to help you. Hey, baby, you know what? Mine sucked too. Let's work it out. Let me show you what I did. Let me put you in touch with said individual. Blah blah blah. Like, we can work so that we can one day get on the same playing field. And one of the other things I think is really great too, having Dr. Washington right now, is realizing that her relationship that she said a couple of really good things, and I hope people pick up on it. She was able to understand her husband and then make herself aware that this man likes to do this. And so if I'm going to be with this man, then I have to make myself comfortable with this, and vice versa, he and them. But that takes work, time, and effort into a relationship and good communication. So I plan to one day have that relationship. Dr. Washington, I have not found that yet. So you hear me?
Let me tell you, it wasn't there from 8th grade. I'll tell you that. It was a work in progress.
That is adorable, and I like that we keep going back to that key word of communication, and being comfortable talking to your partner about whether it be finances or whatever, credit, being comfortable with that. And especially if you plan to spend the rest of your life with someone.
Exactly.
You not feel like you can talk about that. Okay, we're gonna move on. So let's talk about wedding planning and also budgeting. You want your dream wedding and everything that comes with it, while your mate is frugal and thrifty at best. How do you find common ground so you can live after the wedding?
I see Dr. Washington, she's already shaking her head. So.
You got a flashback of that wedding 27 years ago?
Yeah, and I didn't want to spend any money.
It was her.
I've always been this way. When I was in high school, I was like, I want to major in finance. And people were like, you mean accounting? No, I mean finance. Like, I want to understand how money works. I want to plan. I want to save. I'm that person. And so I've always been that way. But that's funny that you say that. But one of my children is a wedding planner, and she's an event planner. And she was planning a wedding. And as the parents of the female, we're a very traditional family. My husband and I were like, okay, so that's mean we have to pay for the wedding. And I said, I will give you $30,000 cash for you to go put a down payment on a house. But I do not feel the same way about giving you $30,000 or whatever the number you come up with to spend on one night. But and I recognize, again, I'm not like most women in that, but I would say that if you are a person who wants the big wedding and the other person doesn't. So, of course, back in 27 years ago, my husband was like, okay, cool. Like, we don't have to compensate. Like, mine is a cook, she can cook, like, we work out. But for the people that doesn't work for, I feel like, you need to understand you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan, because the person who wants to go all out and spend all the money, if it's not realistic, just realize that could be detrimental to your situation. Like, in all seriousness, like, you don't want to set yourself up for failure, or like, be in a whole bunch of debt. You know what I'm saying? Like, go into debt to throw this big party. And I'm not downing people who want to do it. I understand it's the women, they love it. I mean,
Right.
Chandra, I'm sure you probably had a beautiful day, an expensive day. You just look expensive, I mean, and I think that's important. But again, know your budget, know your range, right? Like, what you're really going to be comfortable with. And let's not, again, go all out for the holiday, go all out for the one big day, go all out for the party if we can't afford to do that. And then, Ryan, we don't have life insurance.
Right.
We had this big wedding, but we don't have disability insurance. But we had this great night and this pictures from this party, but we're renting and rent's continually going up, and we have no, home ownership. And so I think prioritizing, I mean, again, I know that's not the popular opinion, but prioritizing and planning go a long way. So that's my thoughts.
Good doctor over here. I would dare say you are an anomaly. Okay.
I think she knows.
You hear me? but and while I say that, I mean no harm, because I actually think that it's fantastic that you were that aware that young. And I think if more women and men, right, had that cognizant, awareness to think about how this money spending frivolously, basically, like you said, for one night we're gonna spend how much money when we can literally start a business, buy a franchise, or buy a home. We could put it for our kids' college fund, whatever the case may be. There's a bunch of different things that have to happen. But again, I would say this: communication, right? Because I see it. Now, I've not been married. I've been engaged once. I've not been married. But I'm a person, as a man, I feel like a wedding, a lot of times we see it as just a woman's day. Right. And I'm like, look, we're going to get married. It's not just about you, especially, you know what I'm saying? I'm there too. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm positioned, well, and you know what I mean? Yeah, I want to take pictures too. Yeah, I want to do the whole gambit. However, because I am financially driven, I will definitely be that person that has rationale and say, how about let's do a destination wedding for like $4 or $5 grand, and take this other money that's going to cost $1 bazillion, and let's just, if somebody wants to give us some money, great, we'll put it towards something else. Like you said, there's a bunch of different things in 2020 right now. We have to be smarter about our finances, have to be smarter about our health, about our life in general. And those things all play a big part. Buy a house, like she said. I think that's a great option, actually.
And I don't want to be or like make it, because I want to give a practical advice for the viewers, because it is an important day to, I realize, men, but mostly women. And I think, too, if you find that it's really out of your budget and you want to, you have to get creative. So again, thinking about the experience, like how can you do it on a budget? There's so many resources right now about how you could do everything on a budget, right? And you can make a really beautiful experience. You can get your bridesmaids in on it and have them help you make, centerpieces. It could be like an activity that you guys are like. There's a lot of ways that you can get creative to still have a beautiful night of your dreams, but not break the bank and put your family in a bad financial position position from Jump Street, or you've saved for it and you save for it and you plan and you haven't then spend it. So I don't want it to be like all doom and gloom. Like, that's not what we're saying, you know. Have your day, but just do it smart and think about, like you said, if one person wants to go all out and the other person doesn't, how can we compromise? The other's to use the word, right? Can we compromise and have this beautiful day, but also be mindful of the budget and our financial goals that we have, you know, for the future?
You have to communicate. We're learning how to compromise. Great lesson today. What I love too about it is, if you're planning a wedding, you want to do things cost effectively. I didn't have a very expensive wedding, and my parents actually took care. They planned my wedding. I was in California with you, so I had been my own wedding. Like, I think like I was my parents were at our cake tasting, at our food tasting. I'm on FaceTime, like, how is that? Is it good? Yeah. Like, I picked the food, so I wasn't very hands-on, but I was totally okay with that. But yeah, it was a creative, well planned out. My mom has a knack for that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think that's totally fine, rather than spend a lot of money and thousands of dollars.
Right.
Like you say, just one day, or rather, it's better to be invested or saved, and you still have to live out. Which is why I wanted to put this question on here. So I'm going to move on. Some 15 million Americans are self-employed, and many couples are getting a piece of the pie. However, entrepreneurship requires lots of time, energy, and capital. What should people be mindful of when starting a business with their mate? Both are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I will start just because I only have something really quick to say. I've been in business with my husband 3 times, and we worked at the same corporate company 3 times. And so what I will say is that it's not something to be taken lightly. And it is very much something that you can't leave. Like, when you leave the office, you can leave work at the office, but when you're an entrepreneur, it's constant, right. It's 24/7, and you bring it home. And so the advice that I would have is to try to, as much as possible, separate the two, right? Because, you know, I'm very intentional about the time that I spend with my husband. Even when our kids were little, they're all grown now. We would say, you know, we don't want our kids to grow up and then we've spent all this time worried about them that we lost connection with us. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing with your job, or if you're an entrepreneur and you give it your all while you can. But when you come home at some point in time at night, you have to shut that off. And you have to focus on that person, and you guys have to be separate from that business, right? And let that kind of sit, you know, because you need to have that time to work with each other.
I would have to agree with that statement also. And also, you know, as a single man that's been in the dating pool, it's a little bit difficult when you're doing such a thing. Sometimes to shut off that mode, right? So you have to have a partner or a spouse who is able to kind of take you and knows how to, you know, push the right trigger to shut that off, or to block you, or to have your back in that said environment. But I think it's an amazing tool. I think it's great that couples are doing it. The time is now to be an entrepreneur. Why not? I'm really big on, I'm pro entrepreneur, period. So I think that, you know, anything that you're going to go give to your job, a regular 9 to 5, not knocking anybody that has a 9 to 5 regularly, I think is amazing. But if you're going to give them that much of your time, effort, energy, and, you know, why not do it towards something that you love to do, or something that you and your spouse both love to do? And being an entrepreneur is not necessarily about money anyway. It's about having freedom, right? So if you and your spouse are doing something that's a joint venture together, then think about, obviously it takes work to make anything happen. So, you know, trying to set aside that time, but when you set aside that time, think about the freedom that you're giving each other by being entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. And what my hope for today is that you all have spoken words that will inspire people all over the world that are watching this to think, to communicate and also cultivate their relationships, and not to give up on their relationships. Because like you said, Ryan, earlier, that, you know, finances are such a staple in divorce rates and ending relationships. It creates such problems when, I mean, sometimes it could be resolved with healthy communication. It could be resolved about talking about these things early. It could be resolved by being considerate of your partner's feelings or the things that they care about. So just being more mindful. So that's my hope. And it's been a true pleasure to have both of you as my special guests. Ryan, how can we get your book, check out your services, and follow you online?
Yes, ma'am. So for all things Ryan Akers, you can go to ryanknowsbest.org, and everything that you need to know is there. My books, is there. All of my social media links and handles, as well as any information that you would need to know for yourself. Hey man, stay in touch, guys. ryanknowsbest.org.
And my dear Pia Washington, who always comes through for me. How can we connect with your book, your property PhD, your nonprofit, your services, everything that you're doing? How can we find you? Keep up.
It's just like Ryan. Go to one site, thepropertyphd.com, and everything is there on my links. I'm not sure if the nonprofit is linked yet, but it should be shortly. So, and I appreciate you so much, Andrea, for having this platform. Thank you for having me. And it's fun. Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Likewise.